Roman Catholicism. Greetings, good people, and a warm welcome to Tom O'Connor Knows All the Answers. My very special guest today is Christopher Locke. This is a very important and anticipated program because the subject matter is going to touch on the lives of everyone who watches it. Those who are for and those who are against the subject matter. So what's the subject matter? The subject matter is whatever happened to Roman Catholics and Roman Catholicism. And so I'd like to introduce to you Christopher Locke. Christopher, thank you very much for being my very special guest.
I'm very honored, and it's a pleasure to be here.
And the subject matter is Roman Catholicism, or whatever happened to Roman Catholics and Roman Catholicism. And you volunteered to be sort of like a victim soul today.
Yes, yes.
If you haven't suffered enough, you certainly will suffer tonight. So the thing is that Roman Catholicism, to be a Roman Catholic in the beginning, in the dawn of the 21st century. Now, how would you classify yourself as a Christian, Roman Catholic, a believer, and unbeliever? Because actually this program is only going to be about you and your personal beliefs.
I would say a believer.
A believer. Now, who do you believe in? Is it Jesus? Do you believe that Jesus is God himself?
Yes.
Well, that's number one. We're doing
You're
good.
not writing this down, are you?
No, this is being recorded for all eternity.
Oh, wow.
Okay, well, we better call on a few guardian angels to come here. But the thing is that you have told me that you were functioning once as a child as a Roman Catholic, but you felt that it wasn't leading you in any particular direction, so you sort of like what General MacArthur once said, old generals never die, they just fade away. So you sort of faded away from Roman Catholicism. So right now, and this is 2003, how do you feel about being a believer but now functioning in an orthodox religion like Roman Catholicism, which you were brought up into in the very beginning?
How do I feel about being not an organized religion?
Yes.
I don't feel one way or the other, actually.
Are you indifferent? It doesn't make any difference? Because a lot of people that I met say, look, I don't need to go to church. I don't need to have a priest, or I don't believe in confession. I don't believe in the sacraments. God is where I know he is, and I go directly from my heart to my Creator.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I've actually used that in the presence of so-called very religious people.
Now, why do you say, Christopher, so-called? Do you think there's a bit of hypocrisy in in religion? Hypocrisy. Now, I have a feeling that I would like to sort of more than just scratch the surface of hypocrisy. Could you give me an example? I mean, have you lived with this type of conduct in other people and you've seen it?
Yes.
Or did you just hear about it?
Well, if I give you an example, I'm making a judgment.
Oh, of course you
against
are.
these
It's all right.
people.
You can make a judgment. You can't. Well,
they're all human. They're gonna make mistakes.
yeah, but that's what we're here to rise above.
They're
You know.
the reason why they're religious at the time, maybe because they're trying to overcome something in their past. Maybe it gives them strength.
But what about you? Are you religious in your own natural capacity to function as a human being? Do you feel that there is a viable, visible connection between you and your Creator? Or is it just something that comes and goes like the dawn and the dusk in life?
I feel a connection. I don't think it's very strong right now.
Has it been stronger?
No.
Has it been much weaker?
Yes.
It has. Okay. Well, the thing is that maybe I should talk a little bit about myself, because as you know, once I was a Trappist monk.
Yes.
And I was there 2 years. And I have no problem functioning as a Roman Catholic. And it's difficult not to understand or not to understand how someone could sort of not practice their a religion, but in in all of your days of your life, have you been ever severely criticized that you're sort of like loose in regard to religion, or has anybody said to you, "Why don't you come to be born again?"
Yes, I've had somebody that I've known that in the past that tried to make me, quote unquote, born again,
And what happened?
and
You said
it was
no.
very uncomfortable. Felt didn't feel right, so I didn't go with it.
I see. Do you have any pet peeves or ideas that either prevent you from functioning as a Roman Catholic? You know, like baptism, confirmation. Have you had any of those?
Yes, I've been baptized and confirmed.
What about First Communion? Do you recall?
Yes.
Oh, so you've had practically all the sacraments.
Oh yeah, it was mandatory. It wasn't by choice. It was something I needed to do.
Something that you were
That was I
compelled
was
to do.
required to do. Compelled meaning if I don't do it, there's problems.
Consequences?
Yes. So it was a compelling thing that pushed me into the church. Yes.
And also released you from it too. Because a lot of there's such a thing as freedom of religion and freedom from religion.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Now, do you feel that you have freedom from religion, Orthodox?
Could you rephrase that question?
If you had if you had your life to do over again, is there any changes you would have made in regard to being a Roman Catholic?
I don't think so.
You would not.
No.
I'm getting deeper in trouble with you every minute. I'm supposed to be here leading you into the path of salvation.
Yes.
And you are determined to fight every minute of this.
Maybe salvation is a concept that we neither of us understand completely.
Well, I'm sure that one of us has to know a little bit more.
Yes, well, being a monk, I'm sure you've been a little closer.
So let's talk about drama now.
Mm-hmm.
Drama. Do you believe in heaven and hell?
Yes.
Oh, you do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm writing that one down. That's a good one. That's
Yes.
number 2.
Mm-hmm.
We're going up the scale of...
Yeah, I heard at one point a piece of information that more people believe in hell than heaven. That doesn't preclude them from, if there's a hell, there has to be a heaven, right?
Yeah, you can't, it's sort of like that song, you can't have one without the other, you know? See, hell, by definition, is the absence of God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Heaven is the presence of God. So, this is a very difficult
Who defined that? Excuse me. Who defined that?
Probably St. Thomas Aquinas.
Oh, okay.
One of the top theologians in Roman
I never
Catholicism.
met him.
I'm sure you may someday. He's probably watching the show right now and saying,
Yeah.
"Oh yes, Tom, you better do a better job with this conversion." So, when you are by yourself, thinking, contemplating, does it ever strike you that you are a future resident of the pit, that you may end up in hell because you're not an Orthodox and you abandon your religion?
Oh, no, I don't believe in that at all.
Oh, you don't believe in that?
No, I don't think I abandoned the religion. I think that the people who, controlled the church. And
You mean the clergy and the hierarchy?
Yes. And
What about them?
I didn't like them.
You didn't like them?
No, I didn't trust them either.
You didn't like them, you didn't trust them.
Yes.
The thing is that, were they mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
Untrustworthy?
Yes.
Every
They would
negative...
lie.
And they lied to you?
Yes. And they basically broke the laws that they were teaching me, that you shouldn't lie, and you shouldn't, I won't go into those.
Well, there's all kinds of ways of breaking. There's
Yes.
all the commandments. Like, for instance, currently right now, a lot of people feel a negation toward religion because of the sexual offenses that have taken place in the clergy. And as a theologian, from looking from the top to the bottom, that may be a ploy, because you do believe in heaven and hell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you believe in hell, then do you have any problem believing in demons and devils? and Satan.
Mm-hmm.
You have a problem with that?
No.
Oh, you don't have a problem
No.
with that? Okay, so the thing is that, theologically speaking, one of the ploys that Satan uses to divorce people from Roman Catholicism or religion is to lead astray those who are supposed to be the sort of archangels of religion, the protectors. And if he can get those people to fall drastically into breaking of the commandments, and it's seen by, we'll say, people of faltering faith, little faith, or no faith, then they justify that by saying, look, these people are in religion, and they are hypocrites, and leading the innocent astray, so where would that leave me? Do you ever feel that way?
I tend to believe that those people they're sinners. Is it safe to say that they're sinners?
We're all sinners.
Okay. All the sinners are saints. So if they can turn it around, they become a saint, right? Because they were led astray. They came back, and they got the strength to do the right thing.
Well, yeah, the only thing is that the problem with being a sinner in the eyes of the pulpit, in the eyes of a human being, is that sometimes people teach by their example rather than the things they say. And therefore, by being caught at doing something, it exposes the hypocrisy of clergymen, religious people, whatever. And that will lead people into a feeling of, if they can do it, and they're supposed to be the learned ones, where does that leave me?
Well, in other words, people who need to be led are in big trouble.
Yes.
Because the people who they looked up to every day to guide them,
Right.
because they didn't have enough, what's the word I'm searching for? Belief in their own abilities.
Yeah,
So they're hurting right now.
there was in baseball, if I recall, because I'm not too much of an enthusiast of baseball, but there was somebody, a baseball player, who did something, sold out his team, or a football player, or a boxer, and there was a big line from a little boy who met him saying, "Say it isn't so, Joe. Say it isn't that you really sold out your team, or you did this and that." And in fact, that's what many people who are in the church would say to these people. But let's talk about...
Well, it's deception then. So what you're saying is whether they were a pedophile or whether they just lied or took people's money that was destined for the church and spent it on something they needed or they felt like they needed.
So in that capacity, to put money in the collection, and then they went out and bought a Cadillac, that would be a little bit negative. In regard to your beliefs when you were young, did you always have did you always have animosity, resentment, or indifference?
I would say all three. Yeah.
All
Being
three.
Catholic to me was a requirement. It wasn't like I was running off to church to say, "Oh, good, we get to go to church." I remember every Wednesday we went to church at Catholic school, and it was, there's church today, so I'm relieved of facing that nun that she would. You're not at school. It's almost
It's
almost
a break.
like a break from
Recreation.
school.
Oh,
Right.
I see.
Recreation. You get to sit there and just think about whatever you want to think about.
So the thing is that, what about your parents? Did they feel that you should have been in the clergy, in the priesthood, or anything
My
like
father wanted me to be a priest.
that? Oh, he did?
Yeah.
So how did that come about? How did you happen to know that he wanted you to become a
Yeah,
priest?
he told me, "I want you to be a priest."
Oh,
Yes.
and you had all those three criterias already in your brain: indifference, and so forth and so forth at the time.
Yeah, it wasn't thrilling to me to be a priest. I didn't see what the excitement was.
What the allurement was.
Yeah, vow of poverty.
Chastity.
Chastity. Well, I mean, I was 6 years old at the time, so a vow of poverty means I don't get any new Tonka trucks, you know. And
Oh, you're 6 years old when your father asked you that
yes,
question?
yes,
Oh.
yeah, because he was close to becoming a priest himself.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
When you say close, what does that mean? He entered or almost entered?
He was studying theology at Fordham, and I think he was heading that direction, but he decided he changed his major to political science.
Political
Yeah,
science.
which isn't far off from theology. Excuse me for that. I don't
Sorry.
want to shock you there with that, but
Well, that's all right. You'll burn for that. Don't
yeah,
worry.
see, yeah,
You'll burn for that.
yeah,
We're
I
just
can
keeping count
feel
of all
the heat
these.
already. Yeah, you're writing all that down.
I'm
huh?
writing all these down.
Oh, okay.
This is like the new modern Bible of fallen away Catholics. That's interesting. That. Well, what about your mother?
My mother resented the church.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you think that their relationship with the church affected you at all?
Yes, my father was very religious and thought, you know, that the church was the guiding force behind. Well, it should be the guiding force behind most families, and my mother looked at it as being hypocritical. Just
Was
a
your
hot-
mother a Catholic?
Yes.
Oh, she was a Catholic.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. So that, so you were pulled in two directions.
Yeah, she grew up. She grew up with the priests, taking the vow of poverty, of course, and seeing how they lived with the china and the silver, and there really was no vow of poverty. And they were always hypocritical too, but they were doing the marriage counseling when they themselves weren't allowed to marry. So there was a lot of things that she would mention to me.
Well, non sequiturs.
Yeah.
Well, of course, you got to do remember, just for theological purposes, diocesan priests, the people that live in communities, do not take about poverty. It's only monks, like Trappist monks,
Really?
Benedictine.
Okay, so it
They
shows.
don't take
It
any.
shows my how far I know about.
Well, this is a miniature. You're acting at. This is a catechumen. That's what you'd be called. You're being pulled out of the jungle of despair, indifference, and benign neglect.
And hurled into the desert of.
Of the wilderness. Now, there's a lot of many people. See, you're very honest in your approach. There are many people who see Roman Catholicism as simply nothing more than a social organization.
I believe it's that. I think all religions are.
Okay.
That's what the church is for. It's a center. Usually, it's the center of a town. You know, in the old days of old, there was
Monastery in the middle.
yes.
Okay.
That's
But-
where the education was, and they
Yes.
would try to keep it close and keep the education in the church.
But what I'm saying, the social aspect of it is they considered it was only that and nothing more. Because there's a lot of people who don't believe in the divine origin of Roman Catholicism, you know,
Which is?
which is that the church, according to theologically speaking, the church in itself is in reality Jesus Christ. You can't have the church without having the other. So, and theologians would say this: if you reject Roman Catholicism as a viable religion, you're in a sense rejecting Jesus.
Yeah, that's incredible. I
Yeah, I
don't
know.
see how they could get away with that in this, and especially today. Do you think that maybe, perhaps, if they did lighten up on some of those hard and fast rules?
Do you have any examples of hard and fast rules?
You just mentioned that. You just said
Other
it.
than that one?
Well, when I was young, it was a sin. I don't know if it was a sin exactly, but it was forbidden to divorce.
Divorce.
Yeah, so you couldn't be Catholic and divorce at the same time. And you were shunned in the church when people knew. So you were an outcast, but you still wanted to believe, but the people there didn't want you anymore because you didn't fit the mold.
No, that's true. That's true. The thing is that, according to the New Testament, Jesus. So when you read the New Testament, you have to reflect that these are the actual words of Jesus, the concept of Jesus. So he is, true man and true God, according to Christianity. That divorce was allowed only for if one of the partners became immoral sexually.
Okay.
Uh,
And yeah, my parents' case, that wasn't the case. My father drank a lot, and I guess if he was immoral, chasing us and beating, just acting crazy.
oh, that was your father?
Yeah, that was. But the people in church looked at him as being a stellar example of,
Of Roman Catholicism.
Right, exactly.
But
So we were on. Yeah, in reality, he was the evil one, and we were on the side suffering, and we weren't. We were looked at as, oh, we're the ones that gave up on him.
Oh.
But I mean, how do you stay with somebody that was,
So it didn't respect your rights, to put it mildly.
right, and wasn't being a good Catholic
Mm.
by driving his family out. So
Your mother and father, were they ever divorced?
yes.
Oh, they were.
Hmm.
Oh, so that.
And he was still he was still religious. He never lost that religious part of himself.
So he died a Roman Catholic?
Yeah. Well, they got divorced and then they moved in with each other, which is the ultimate sin. Yeah.
Well, no, it's not actually.
It's not.
No, no. The thing is that say the
They were
fact-
married in the eyes of God and divorced in the eyes of
the
state of New York.
and that means nothing. See, the thing is
Mhm.
that in regard to marriage, marriage is a divine concept, a mandate, and the thing is that when a man and a woman are married, the theological concept that they become two in one flesh, and therefore the relationship is immutable; it can never be changed. So the thing is, even though your mother and father went through a divorce legally, that is considered by the church as a paper transaction only, and it meant absolutely nothing because it didn't go beyond the theological.
Okay, but it was symbolic enough that we were not as appreciated at the church.
Well, you're probably right.
After the divorce, and nothing was made mention of his behavior. It's very strange. You have to understand where we were coming from. We went to church. We listened. This is the way we were supposed to be raised. It was very hypocritical. It didn't make any sense.
All right. So then the question that I would ask then is that if there was a different relationship in your family, because this is many times the reason for children. How many are there in your family?
3.
For going astray because they don't have the example of honesty, togetherness, and integrity in a marriage. So do you think that if there was a different type of relationship between your mother and father in regard to none of the abuses that you're saying your father did, do you think it would have changed you at all?
I think it would have, but who knows? You can't really look back and try to.
No, you can't.
You got to look forward and say, there's a lot of living left to do, so get on with it.
Get on with it.
Yeah, I had a friend, for example, his parents were very religious. He wasn't allowed to have television in his house, which I thought, I look back at it now and I think that's a great concept. I think there's a lot of people who shouldn't have television. What he thought it was.
But this, what years you're talking about?
70s, late 70s.
Oh, because it was the Devil's Voice Box?
Yeah, it was, Charlie's Angels, basically.
Oh, women and nudity and promiscuous activities.
Jiggly women pushing young kids over the edge.
Oh.
Right? He started getting some pimples on his face.
Uh-huh.
His father told him to wash his face. He did. And he said, you didn't wash it enough. So he went into the room, he washed his face again in the bathroom. His father said, you got to keep washing your face. He washed his face for half an hour. He scrubbed his face for half an hour. He came to school the next day. He looked like I don't know, he looked like he was burned.
Oh,
It
so
was very, I mean, this is the examples, very extreme examples of people who are religious, but they don't tend to have the common sense, and they feel like there's a lot of fear out there. They feel, to me, they look to me like they're fearful.
well, there's a lot of animal heat in religion. There's a lot of mental illness in human beings,
Mhm.
and the thing is that very few people can escape it. And a lot of children are victims of parents, and a lot of parents are victims of their own parents. So it's a very difficult situation because idiosyncrasies, mental illness, um, just because you're religious doesn't mean you escape any of that. Or, in fact, you may even emphasize it all the more because of a feeling of self-righteousness.
Oh, exactly. And I
Yeah.
think that's part of being religious.
Oh, you
Walking
do?
down the street saying, I'm
I'm better than you?
I'm better than you. I'm going to heaven, and you're going to hell. And see ya.
Oh, well, I guess that we have a new program on the transitional period between true sanctity and the lack of it. And then I'll give you a videotape that I did with Mother Teresa to give you a good example of the
Okay,
opposite.
well,
of-
I'm not talking about Mother Teresa
Right.
in any of my examples. These were extreme
I know.
examples. Someone who, dedicated her life to starving children, people
Yes.
with forgotten people. Of course,
Yes.
she said that I remember reading somewhere that she chose to work with the poor because she felt like poverty, being poor, was you were closer to God, or God was closer to you.
Well, the thing is that you have less opportunities to flee from the Lord because there's no place to go and you have nothing to go with, and it's financial difficulties.
Well, when you have a lot of despair in your life, I think that God would, or religion for that matter of fact, and everything that comes with it, the church, the people, are a hand to help you get through, what you need to, your everyday life.
Wow, I think we're getting close to ending this program. I think there's
Really?
hope here.
Really?
Christopher, I think I was getting,
Oh,
I
wow.
was giving myself a failing grade, but I can see there's progress on the mountain of salvation for you. And I really want to thank you for this type of conversation. The truth is that I've never done a type of program in my life before.
Yeah.
And I hope it doesn't show too much on camera that I'm struggling myself, but
Well, I held back a lot of stuff too.
well, that'll be the next show.
Yeah, I don't want to get too,
Yeah,
I don't
too
want to be
mad.
a lunatic
Okay.
on television.
Well, that's okay. Let me save your soul. And this is Tom O'Connor for Tom O'Connor Knows All the Answers. So it's a bit of revelation about Christopher, sorry. I'm thinking of King Charles, one of the great saints in England. And we're going to be probably following this because it may be a series of the development of people who have left Roman Catholicism and feel no need to have an Orthodox religion in their life. And I want to thank you again, Christopher.
Thank you.
And if this goes reviewed by the Rome, we'll find out if you're going to win any type of ecclesiastical awards for this show.
Really.
And thank you very much. And that's it.